Welcome to this special presentation from the Enlightenment Journey webinar, organized by Light and Light Academy. In this session, we are proud to feature Julie Conway, renowned glass artist and lighting designer, as she shares her creative journey and unique approach to light, material, and form.
Of course, my name is Julie Conway. I'm over here in Seattle, Washington, where glass blowing is quite prominent. Outside of Murano, Italy, it's one of the largest glass making communities in the world. The name of my studio is Illuminata, and my tagline is to bring light and beauty to the world. So where I get my inspiration as an artist is everywhere. A lot of things in nature, phenomenon in nature, architecture, experiences, history, and how I try to interpret these larger ideas or concepts or experiences into maybe a product or into an experience through art and glass and light, of course. So working with interior designers and creating an environment and all of the different things we get to do with light. And so when I'm, walking around or experiencing something in the world, I will be taken by that moment where light is affecting us and it feels transcendent. And I then go try to figure out how I can emulate that into a product or a piece of glass or an experiential artwork or installation. And I'm also known for this phenomenon, but I also bring it into the functional world. So I can bring those experiences of art, glass design into a product that actually is functional when we work with large brands. One of my most recent large-scale installations is for our heritage city landmark is the Space Needle, and Chihuly Garden and Glass Museum is at the same place. So taking large-scale handmade glass with my team, we all make that with the glass in our own hands, and then wiring it, installing it, bringing all the architecture and engineering into play is something that takes it to the next level from an artwork. Something else I really enjoy doing is taking very large-scale installations. This is quite heavy. It's easily, 300 kilos. And so all of that steel and glass, but having it float above that, floating staircase and making it look like it's almost ethereal, that goes back to working with engineers, working with the architects, working with designers, getting all my lighting components, getting all the ceiling blocked, making sure everything is done from the beginning. It's not just blowing glass and hanging it on a string. It's a lot of things that goes into that. And I also really love to create not only beautiful pieces of blown glass, but an environment that the light is refracting and reflecting through that glass onto surrounding walls and creating patterns, creating mood. Now, something you may not know is glass has been made for about 6,000 years on Earth. And our furnaces are just about the same as they were in the 1st century AD when Romans were making glass. And this oil lamp, this yellow piece here, is an oil lamp that would be very difficult for me to do today, 2,000 years later. They really have a lot of knowledge. And in fact, all of our tools and process are just about the same. So I was raised here in the United States, and I know this audience is a lot from Europe, but here in America, things are really young. I grew up in a house from the 1970s. I mean, come on, we didn't have old, castles and architecture and things like this. So when I went to art school in France, in Avignon, I lived behind the Palace of the Pope. I had a 9-inch iron key. And when I was in art school, what I didn't expect was what the handcrafted world was going to influence on me. Things that were, hand-laid tiles and cobblestone streets and columns and things of antiquity that have lasted for centuries, but the maker's hand is still in them. And that is really where I started going immediately when I started making art. I started in jewelry and welding and then went into glass. But this fascination of longevity and history and innovation into the, further centuries is incredible. So early in my career, I was invited to Italy, the, Mecca of glass making in Murano. And these chandeliers blew my mind. I mean, these are 500 years old. They're still in existence. There's hundreds of pieces. The engineering alone into creating them and suspending them and making them look like dainty little, cake decorations, but they're hundreds and hundreds of pounds and or kilos, and they're still in existence and still showing opulence and decor, and it just blows my mind. So how can I, bring those ancient techniques that I got to work with different maestri from Murano over 21 years, back and forth, learning from them, some of their old techniques, and then taking a spin on that and putting it into a modern design. Sometimes those Italians aren't too keen on that. There's a lot of arguing on that sort of situation, but it's really wonderful for me to derive from older cultures and then put a spin on it because it's ongoing, And then last October, this really came to fruition where I was invited by Venice Design Week, the city of Venice, to come and show my design lighting in an exhibition at Light Collection or Light Selection, excuse me, for Venice Design Week. So here I was bringing not only my glass back to Venice, but exhibiting it in the city that taught me so much. And it was really wonderful to integrate everything where I have learned from different maestri, and then I was able to collaborate with one of my teachers of Simone Cenedese, maestro, and we got to do a demonstration during the week. And I also got to bring in our women in lighting with the ambassadors from Italy, and we gave a presentation on lighting and design and the impact of lighting in the light selection programming. So it was just like full circle of everything I've ever done. Really love it. Whoops, let's go back. So, Egypt, ooh, boy, oh boy. Since I was a little kid, I would dress like the Bastet cat from the tombs. I wrote in hieroglyphics, and I have always been inspired by Egypt because they are all things design, right? Everything that we ever known is like you can go back to Egypt and find it. And there is glass that has been found that is 6,000 years old. And some of the glass is most precious, part of the burials, part of the afterlife, part of the decoration for the pharaohs. And so it's the most precious material. And something about that just blows my mind. The preciousness, the alchemy, this still is a mystery. It's we don't have any other materials right now that haven't been figured out all the way. But this continues to get deeper and deeper. And this hieroglyphic of glass blowers, I've been showing in presentations for years. And it was unbelievably right in smack in front of me when I went to Egypt 2 years ago. I walked right up to it and saw it at the Saqqara pyramid. I couldn't believe it. Everything was just calling to me to come down this path, and I went straight to it. And I just, of course, was laughing my, face off because I couldn't believe I just, the walls are covered in hieroglyphics and covered in everything. And I went straight to it. Something old worldly or derived from, something magical came through me. And I also got to try my hand at blowing glass in an Egyptian factory, and that was pretty wild. So again, I love this travel adventure and bringing light to the world and connecting it through my eyes. And now, something about creating products is, when you're working with designers and you're working with clients, and you have to kind of like, what do they want? What are they working on? What are the elements in the room? And what can I contribute? I want to just, go on an adventure and try my hand at creating new things all the time. So that gives me a lot of opportunities to do so. And these chandeliers were sort of derived from my another inspiration that I take from a lot is Art Deco and Art Nouveau from France, but sort of modernizing it and with a new twist. And when I was young, also, I learned from different cultures while I was a glass assistant for different teachers around the world. Czech master Petr Novotny was teaching courses in Turkey. So not only blending the Turkish culture, but the Czech culture in glass, and really infiltrating, my psyche, my thoughts, my creative process. And it gets distilled into sort of this Turkish, Persian shapes, but modernized into a super large chandelier. And Each piece of the glass here is almost a meter high. If you can imagine, we blew that glass on a blowpipe at a furnace by hand. And they're coated in metallic silver leaf. And working again with the designers, making a place of impact, a focal point of light, and the other artists contributing to this room is something that you have to do as an artist. And you have to sort of, really do a lot of other things than just your art. You have to collaborate with others and bring it into real space. So there's the size of the scale. I don't love going small. I must say I am small, but I like to go big. And figuring all of this out and working with the teams. And so there's the engineers and the contractors, and I will work in hand drawings, and then my CAD engineer will put things into CAD and SolidWorks and different programs. So the engineers and the architects can work it out, but it becomes a full team effort. And that's where things feel effortless, even though they are very big and heavy and pretty amazing to go against gravity in suspension, and it's just so fun to go on the ride. So this is a newer project. It's a series of veils of color, very inspired by the Indian culture. I had a client from India, and I just got so inspired. She actually wore a sari to my studio, and I just love the layers of the veils of color and how when one overlays the other, then it's a whole nother color. And working those series out in glass and light, and then taking a plain white modern room, and at night that's transformed into a kaleidoscope of colors. And this, I hope, will play. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Sorry for this. That's the sound of a glass studio, by the way. Sounds like a large jet engine furnace. But that heat, that fire, and that adaptability, we cannot just sit back and decide something's going to be changed or how we would like something to look different. I got to work fast, and I got to work with my team. And sometimes things don't turn out, but sometimes you got to go for it. We don't have time to reflect. So we have a lot of years. My team here, look at the size of the muscles, first of all. I do large scale work, but it is hard, hot, and heavy. But it's super exciting. It's an adrenaline rush like you've never had. If you ever can take a glass blowing class, I highly recommend it. You probably will get addicted the way I did. But when I work, I have to do a lot of prep work and drawing and thinking ahead of time because we have sort of the one shot. Now, remember, this is molten sand and it is formed with breath. So it's very alchemical and actually sort of primordial in a sense. It's fire and breath and coordination and team and sweat and cuts and burns. It's just amazing. So, one of my favorite pieces ever was this full room installation at the Bellevue Arts Museum, and it's called Fractured, and it kind of is finally I get to make an artist statement, and sometimes I get to do that in design, but this was pure art where reflecting on the modern times, and we feel broken and shattered and text and email and this, and we're pulled in all these directions, and we feel like we're never completing anything. We don't even know who we are anymore. We're looking for our reflections. So I had this broken mirror, and the blown glass pieces are mirrored, and then the 24 karat gold is a little scuffed and a little bit, we've been through life, we have some scars, but the lighted piece in the center and that center of the mandala is where we find peace. We have to find peace within ourselves in these times. And look at that. This was from 2018. It won a Lit Awards, and it also actually got an A Design Award from Italy. And but I'm just finding like we need to merge artistic experiences and design. That's where we need to be because our spaces in modern times are also just very boring. They're just sort of like concrete floors and a gray wall and a chrome chair. And we got to be more in touch with our hearts and more in touch with our feelings and more in touch to feel alive, right? We want to bring spaces alive, and light can do that. So I also love brand partnering. This is with Four Seasons. Here in Seattle, of course, we have a lot. We're known for the gray and the rain and the clouds. So these are the cloud pendant. But we also had a view of this beautiful Puget Sound, the sea that's out front. Whales actually go by right out front there. And so we didn't want to block the view. So I came up with a very light shimmer of using a metallic gold and silver leaf to look through the glass and really create a moody ambiance and a little bit of, zhuzh and sparkle. It is, a five-star hotel, and we want to feel special, and we want to feel illuminated, and we want to feel transcended by light. And one of the wonderful opportunities I got to do with Four Seasons is I launched this recycled glass project that I've been passionate about since 2005. Where we melt discarded bottles, and then, it really becomes trash to treasures. And so brand partnering again with Din Tai Fung, a Michelin star restaurant, for large scale impact and really bringing the light, front and center. Taking a brand logo and changing it into blown glass, some other ideas. Traveling to Morocco. Now, I'm addicted to perforated steel, everyone knows it, but I derive again the ancient technologies into a modern interpretation. So one of the biggest passion projects I have is Bioglass is my nonprofit for eco design and techniques in glass blowing, founded in 2006. But my partners in Mexico, in Oaxaca, Mexico, melt recycled glass bottles using a vegetable oil furnace. And now we are creating my ready-made brand, Lumi Collection, and it won. It was shortlisted for Dark Awards last year, came in number 5 for the Bola pendant based off of fishing buoys. And Lumi Collection is a ready-made and can help designers find something quick without a huge custom project. But something about the ready-mades is when you start product design, you've got to have exact measurements. And you've got to have everybody on the same team, and we're going to blow them into the same form. So we're really specific about what we're doing here. And so each product can come out the same, even though it's handmade. It's very meticulous in measurements. So that's that. Bioglass, this is my nonprofit that I founded with my colleagues in 2006. And we started marking places around the world where people were using eco-efficient techniques such as recuperation, recycled glass, alternatives to fuel. And it comes from my big passion of upscaling things. I literally go dumpster diving and create magical chandeliers for restaurants and high-end hotels. And I'm really passionate about the frequencies of light, the way they were used in cathedrals. We can change our mood, we can change our feeling, we can transcend, and we can do that being designers of light. And I'm now getting recognized by doctors, and I'm on some podcasts with some ideas about health and light and the frequencies of light for healing. And so I think that's where we're going into the future. We need to merge that with design. We need to be holistic in our places. And I'd like to leave you with this. For the lighting designers that are joining here, please educate your clients on how to purchase quality projects with small batch artisans or small companies and designers who are making quality products. We are not concerned about cheap bottom line, processes that are environmentally terrible, is terrible for the workers, it's not a happy place, and it doesn't create happy products. So let's go for the next iteration and bringing conscious design, thoughtful creation, eco, unique. We want to make beautiful spaces using light. And this is it. Sparkle on, everybody. And I can't wait to see what comes from this International Day of Light and sharing with you all.